Hey everybody. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make a wheel for the mini tethered Sumo robot using Fusion 360. This tutorial is going to involve making some simple sketches and extrusions. We're going to put a little lip on here so that we can hold in the rubber elastics that we're going to use to add a little traction to these wheels. We're going to add some spokes in here too to take some weight off of this wheel and to minimize the amount of material that we're using. So I'm going to try to replicate this in a new file. So I'm going to start making a new design here. And this is probably the screen that you're going to see to begin with. Just a blank white screen because we've got nothing to work with yet. So I'm going to start with making a sketch. And I'm going to make this sketch on the top plane here. So you should be looking at the top part of the nab cube up here. And to begin with, I'm going to start by using this origin point as the center for everything because this wheel is going to be all revolving around this center point here. I'm going to start by making one circle. I want my wheels to be 36 millimeters wide. So I'm going to start off by just typing in 36 millimeters to set that size because I want that one to stay 36 millimeters. And I'm going to add one more circle here. And you'll see the purpose of this one later. I'm going to make this one 37 millimeters, just a little bit bigger. And it's going to come out to right there. Okay? And before I finish this sketch, all three big pieces of geometry for this wheel are all going to be made on the first sketch here. What I want to do next is make the hex piece that the shaft is going to fit into. So to do this, there is no hexagon tool. We need to make a polygon ourselves. I'm going to use a circumscribed polygon, the first option. And the same thing here, I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to click in the middle so that this comes out from the center point. And off camera, I've measured what the size of this hex piece is. It's about 2.8 millimeters. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this piece a little bit bigger because when you 3D print small holes like this, the holes end up being smaller than you intend them to be. So you can notice, if you look closely, the arrow where the dimension's coming from is measuring from the middle. So what that means is the radius of this is only half the size of the total dimension that I measured on the piece. So I want this radius to be exactly 1.5 millimeters. And I want to have 6 sides to this polygon. If you don't have that, you can hit Tab to put the 6 sides in there. I want it to snap nice and tight like that. That looks good. Okay. So let's zoom back out again. It should look something like this. You have one little square hex in the middle and 2 circles on the outside. Now that these have been set, I'm going to finish this sketch. And I'm going to start extruding the pieces out to make this piece 3D. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to extrude this big middle part here. And you can either type in this dimension or grab the arrow and pull it up. I want this to be about 1 inch wide, which is 25 millimeters or so. So I'm going to type in that number and press enter. And here we've got the start of our wheel. Okay. If I kind of get confused and I'm rotating around and I can't figure out which way's up, I'm just going to hit the home button just to make sure that I'm back looking at it from the original view. Now, I want to use the other circle that was on that original sketch, but it's disappeared. Because once you extrude something, it kind of assumes that you've done everything you need with that sketch. And so it's become invisible. You see the little eyeball sign here with the cross out of it. So I'm going to make this visible again by turning it back on. And I'm going to make the rims now for this wheel. So I'm going to make 2 more extrusions here. This first one is going to be just by clicking this tiny profile. And I want to raise it just 1 millimeter. So you can click and drag. You can type in the number. It doesn't really matter. And hit enter. Now, because I've turned the visibility of sketch 1 on manually, it's going to stay there. I need to use that sketch again, and I want to put this up on the top up here. So there's a number of ways you could do this. You could mirror it. What I'm going to do is just an offset extrusion. So I'm going to make an extrusion. I want to extrude that profile there. Except this time I don't want to start on the profile plane that we sketched it on. I want this to start offset from that profile plane. So I'm just going to grab this arrow. I'm going to drag this offset up until it's in line with the top, which, oh, I did it wrong. Hold on a second. I was doing the distance. I want to do the offset. I want this to be 25 millimeters from the bottom. So this should be sitting right on the top surface here. And what that means is I want the distance of this extrusion to be 1 millimeter. Except if it's 1 millimeter, it's going to go up from the top. So I'm actually just going to go -1 millimeter. And that will extrude that from the top down, and it's going to make sure it joins so that it's adding to the other piece. All right, so now we got our 2 rims on here. Looking good. I'm just going to go back to my original drawing here for a second and show you this. I've done a bit of a, I don't know what you'd call that, a taper on the wheel, just to make it look a little cooler. So I'm going to show you how to do this one on here too. What I did is I used a loft for this. And so to begin the loft, what I need to do is make a circle inside this part in a place where we can't really see. And we don't have any flat surface to sketch on, so I'm going to construct an offset plane. And I want this offset plane to be offset from this top surface. I want it to be going down, let's say 6 millimeters from the top. Now, on that offset plane, I'm going to be creating a sketch. And so now we're working sort of inside the part right now. You can see where the paper of the 2D sketch would be if you're drawing on a paper. I want to make a simple circle from the center. I want to make sure I get that center line, so I'm going to click the top, so I'm looking straight down on the top. From the center, I want to go out 8 millimeters. Okay, that's it for this sketch. I'm going to finish that one. Now I'm going to make a second sketch, this time on this top flat surface here. And let's make this one 34 millimeters. Okay, so now I've got these 2 circles. I'm going to finish this sketch as well. And so now what I'm going to do, go to Create, and you're going to see an option down here about halfway, third of the way down for a loft. So what a loft does is it will take one shape, and it will take the second shape. Can I get it? That one right there. And it assumes because we're cutting through a solid surface to make this that I want to cut this whole operation out. And there we go. We've got our cool little cone shape now. All right, so I'm going to keep building on this. I want to do these spokes. This is probably going to take the longest bit because I made some kind of fancy curves in here. So I want to make one more sketch. It's going to be starting on the top surface here. And I want to make something that's kind of like a wedge shape so that by the time I make, say, 8 of these, they all kind of line up. So I'm just going to do this with some random lines just to begin with. I'm going to start here, and let's just start right on this green origin line here. And I'm going to move over, let's say, 1 millimeter and click to make a point. Now I'm going to move up, and this time what I want to do is actually set the angle. So you notice the blue dimension at 12.5 millimeters. I don't really care about the dimension. I want it to line up with this circle here. What I care about is that angle because I want these to be even. So I'm going to make this one 105 degrees. And it looks like it wants to snap to that circle, which is convenient. So I'm just going to click there. That looks good. And I'm just going to do the same over here on the other side. You could use a mirror as well. I'm just going to type this in again, 105 degrees, and I'm typing it in to really make sure that it's set and constrained that way. Okay, now I just need one more curve from this point to complete the shape. So I'm just going to make one more circle starting from the middle because I know everything's concentric from the middle. And click on that point there, sure. I don't really need this whole circle all the way around, so I'm going to use the trim tool and delete the rest of that circle around so that all that we have is these 4 lines here. Now, before I finish the sketch, though, what I want to do is add a little round corner into each of these corners. It's called a fillet. So I'm going to click on this corner here, maybe 2 millimeters, not 3. That looks a little better. And this one here. Okay. I'm going to make 2 more fillets down here just to make these look a little nicer. Let's make this 1 millimeter, and let's make that one 1 millimeter. And we got these nice kind of rounded corners everywhere. Okay, beautiful. Now, I want to use this pizza wedge to cut this piece away. So I'm going to select this profile. And instead of going a certain distance, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to the bottom plane. And the difference here is maybe later on I've figured out that my wheel isn't wide enough or it's too wide or whatever. If I say that I want this extrusion to go to the bottom, it will always snap to that bottom piece. If I give it a number, it's always going to go that number. So if I type in 25 millimeters wide, but then I actually make the wheel 30 millimeters wide, it won't come all the way through once I make that edit. So here we have our one extrusion. I think that looks pretty good. Now I want to do this again 6 or 8 or 10 times or something like that, but I don't want to actually do it again 6 or 8 or 10 times. So I am going to create a pattern now. This time we're going to make a circular pattern because we're going around the wheel. The thing that I want to pattern is not a body, it's not a face, it's not a component. What I'm trying to do is make a feature get patterned. So the feature is, it's going to be something that you can see on this bottom history down here. You could just click on the piece as well. There it understands I want that entire extrusion to be selected, so that's nice and convenient. If you can't get that entire selection, you can always just click on this extrusion down here and everything is selected. The axis that I want to revolve it around, it's actually that little green line in the middle there, but that's pretty hard to click. Everything is concentric around that green line. Every other circle here was all made on that origin point. So I'm just going to click any other round surface, and it understands that we want to revolve around the middle. Instead of making 3 of these, let's try 6. What does 6 look like? Yeah, still kind of chunky. What does 8 look like? That's looking better. What about 10? Oh, I like that. We're going for 10 this time. All right. So I think we've got it. At this point, feel free to modify anything that you need to. Add more fillets, more round corners in if you need to. But this is basically ready to print. I'll be doing the how to actually 3D print these in a separate video. We're going to be slicing with a program called Cura, and we're printing them on Monoprice Mini Select version 2 printers. So, thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.